What if I told you that the Jesus you think you know, the gentle, kind, and forgiving figure, is only part of the story? Most people picture him as someone who never raises his voice and never says anything harsh. But here's the truth. The real Jesus was far more complex, and he had a side that most of us don't talk about. A stern side. A side that called people out, challenged the powerful, and even flipped tables. But why don't we hear about this Jesus more often? And what does this stern side have to teach us today? Stick with me, because what you're about to discover could shift how you understand Jesus and your own life. Many of us like to imagine Jesus as this ever-patient, ever-loving shepherd who never breaks a sweat, never confronts, never challenges. But the truth is, if that's the only Jesus we see, we're missing something big. And here's the tension. If we only embrace his gentle side, we risk losing the depth of his message and the full power of his teachings. Think about it. What do you do when someone crosses the line, disrespects you, or treats you unfairly? Most people either avoid confrontation or explode in anger. But Jesus models a different kind of strength. A strength that balances grace with truth. A strength that knows when to show compassion and when to draw a line in the sand. Let's examine this other side of Jesus, a side that's rarely explored but crucial for understanding him. One day, Jesus was walking toward Jerusalem, hungry and looking for food. He sees a fig tree in the distance, full of leaves. Now here's the thing. Fig trees with leaves should also have fruit. But when Jesus approaches it, he finds nothing but leaves. And what does he do? He curses the tree. The next day, the disciples find the tree withered to its roots. Mark 11:12-14 and 20-21. That seems harsh, right? I mean, it's just a tree. But the message here is powerful. The fig tree looked productive from a distance, but it was all an illusion. And here's the reality check. How many of us are like that tree? We look successful on the outside. We're busy doing things, but inside, there's no real growth, no fruit. In today's world, we're often told to fake it till you make it. We're encouraged to look good on social media, even if, behind the scenes, we're struggling. But here's what Jesus teaches us. With that cursed fig tree, appearances aren't enough. He calls us out on unfulfilled potential, on not living up to what we were created to be. The question is, are you just showing leaves, or are you bearing fruit? What are you really contributing to your life, your community, and your spiritual growth? Let's bring that into today's context. We've all seen it. People with perfect Instagram lives, perfect jobs, perfect relationships, but deep down, something's missing. There's no real substance. It's easy to spend time curating our image, but what if we invested that energy into cultivating who we really are? That stern side of Jesus pushes us to confront these uncomfortable truths. What's behind the leaves in your life? Then there's the time when Peter, one of Jesus' closest disciples, tried to stop him from going to the cross. Out of concern, Peter tells Jesus, "This will never happen to you." But Jesus doesn't thank Peter for his concern. Instead, he says something that shocks us. "Get behind me, Satan." Matthew 16:23. Why would Jesus speak so harshly to his friend? Because Peter's intentions, though seemingly good, were misguided. Peter wanted to protect Jesus from pain, but in doing so, he was trying to prevent God's greater plan. How many times have we tried to avoid discomfort, challenges, or pain because we think it's the right thing to do? Sometimes, like Peter, we get in our own way. We try to avoid the very struggles that could lead to our growth. And when we do, we're missing out on God's bigger purpose. Let's face it, today we live in a comfort-obsessed society. We avoid hard conversations, hard decisions, and anything that feels like suffering. But what if, like Peter, we're getting in the way of our own breakthroughs? What if the challenges we're running from are the very things designed to strengthen us? The stern Jesus doesn't let us off the hook easily. He confronts us in our desire for comfort and pushes us toward purpose. And then there's one of the most striking moments in the Bible: Jesus cleansing the temple. Imagine the scene. Jesus walks into the temple, the holiest place in Jerusalem, and he finds people selling animals, exchanging money, turning a sacred space into a marketplace. And what does he do? He flips over their tables, drives them out with a whip, and says, "My house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers." Matthew 21:12-13. This isn't the calm, peaceful Jesus we're used to. This is Jesus, full of righteous anger, standing up for what's right. He doesn't just shake his head in disappointment, he takes action. Today, we see injustice all around us: corruption, inequality, greed. How many of us, like the people in the temple, just go along with it, turning a blind eye because that's just the way it is? But the stern side of Jesus challenges us to take a stand. When something is wrong, you don't just tolerate it, you confront it. Maybe we're not flipping tables, but what can we do in our own lives to stand up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable? Now, don't get me wrong. Jesus is compassionate, and his love is unconditional. But his love doesn't mean he lets us off the hook. It doesn't mean he never holds us accountable. That's the tension we often overlook. Jesus balances grace with truth, compassion with conviction. He's the shepherd who leaves the 99 sheep to find the one who is lost. But he's also the stern leader who says, "If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off." Mark 9:43. In our lives, we need both sides of Jesus. We need the love and forgiveness that lifts us up, but we also need the challenge that pushes us to grow, to face the hard truths, and to take action when necessary. So how can we apply this in our daily lives? 1. Don't shy away from hard truths. Ask yourself, where in your life are you showing leaves without fruit? Where are you focused on appearances rather than real growth? Identify one area where you can stop pretending and start producing. 2. Embrace discomfort for growth. Like Peter, don't avoid the difficult path just because it's hard. Lean into the challenges that are placed in front of you. That's where real transformation happens. 3. Stand up for what's right. Whether in your workplace, your community, or your personal life, don't just be a bystander. If you see something wrong, don't be afraid to speak up or take action. Even small steps can make a big difference. The next time you think of Jesus, remember, there's more to him than meets the eye. Yes, he's kind and loving, but he's also stern when it matters. And sometimes it's the stern side of Jesus that pushes us to become the people we're meant to be. Now, we want to hear from you. What's one area of your life where you feel called to make a change? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, and let's keep this conversation going.